It seems to me we have arrived. Oh yes, we have. This is the Joseph fellow belonging to that scoundrel who goes by the name of King Arthur.
Be careful! Here there is an informant behind every door. One should talk about King Archon with respect.
With respect, you say? I don't know how to. I cannot stand such respect.
Not so loud for Zeus' sake, the walls have ears. Now please sit down because I can no longer hold you up.
I fear sitting down, my boy, because the elf is known to play tricks on people.
Sit down, old man.
It continually escapes from under my feet. You see, I spend the majority of my life feeling as though I am traversing on water. I mention this to the philosophers at the square. Everything is in a flowing, a watery state, that it is all water and wine. But they refused to believe me and ordered me to prove it. It is not at all funny. There was already one who tried to prove that everything is water. The poor fellow drowned. You always die from what you fight for.
I cannot tell whether you are joking or telling the truth. Because if it is true,
You have said it. I talk about serious and tragic matter, even though I have had a lot to drink today. But it is all because of Socrates.
because of Socrates, the whole city is talking about him. The whole city is reading the board of accused. I don't think Socrates will escape without a tough penalty. The judges are obstinate and many have promised revenge.
That is why I cannot stand that place. An abode of stupidity!
Not so loud. Why did you ask to be brought here?
To offend King Archon with my presence when he passes by.
How will that help Socrates?
It will give me relief. I feel as though I am filled with bitter water, though I drank wine. It is strange, my boy. I feel the taste of the wine that I drank the day before yesterday. Is that possible? What's happened to today's wine?
You'll remember day after tomorrow.
Not enough. There is a deeper meaning to all this. As with wine, the same happened to the world. Today's wine is not the wine of today. And the world that I felt this morning is not the same world as is it now. But I now know why. The world, my boy, doesn't rest on the shoulders of
Not
a
so
man.
loud. They might hear you and accuse you of atheism, just as they did with Socrates. Would you mind if I take my leave now?
I beg pity, but before you will tell me, what do they call you? So I may recount to others about your kindness to an old beggar philosopher.
I am Eurysthenes, son of Philebus.
Beware, Eurysthenes, son of Philebus. You leave me in the same stage as you met me, in the horizontal position.
What, may I ask, are our noble Athenians discussing?
By Zeus, Socrates, Socrates himself. We have been looking for you everywhere, Socrates. Are you ill? Do you require anything?
I always require someone to talk to, someone who is not as dense as me.
An answer worthy of Socrates.
Allow me, my boy, to ask you something. Could you read me the accusation which is written on that board? I seem to have forgotten one phrase. My mind is already so old and empty that I find it difficult to remember things.
Meletus, son of Meletus of Pythos, accuses Socrates, son of Sophroniskis, of atheism. The call is for the death penalty. Socrates is guilty since he does not acknowledge the gods recognized by the state, but introduces new gods and teaches the same to the youth. Socrates threatens the state because he corrupts the youth with the assumption that he is able to penetrate the secrets of heaven and earth. The last sentence Socrates was added later because this morning it wasn't there.
This is precisely the sentence I could not remember, probably because it is long and illogical. I thank you, Eurysthenes.
I too am dragged through courts by scoundrels, but I prepare to pay the scoundrels rather than be taken through God.
Tell me, dear Crito, do you not feed the dogs in order for them to guard your sheep from the wolves?
Certainly, I feed them, for it is more convenient for me to feed them than not to feed them.
Would you then agree to feed a man who would defend you from enemies?
But of course, with pleasure, if I would have the certainty that he would not turn on me.
Now, what do you mean? Don't you think it's more pleasing for someone to benefit from friendship rather than from hatred? Know well that there are enough people here who would consider it a great honor to befriend you.
Oh, godly Socrates! Allow me to say that each time I look at your ruffled beard and this figured nose, I undergo something along the line of a cheering up.
Why is that, Crixus?
Because even with such an hideous face, you are beautiful. So beautiful that you must arouse envy among the gods. Does this not indicate, Socrates, that true beauty is not part of nature order, is not a part of the body?
You are a flatterer. I thank you, Crixus. Be sure that you have caused me much pleasure. Now, drunken people, in particular drunken philosophers, distinguish themselves with the courtesy of kings. You are refined in speech, even though you do look like a swine. What I said is equally flattering to you, Crixus, as to the swine.
To swine, you say? I feel like crying, Socrates, and laughing. I feel like crying because in a country where philosophers are accused of uncommitted crimes, things are no good.
In a country where beggars are also philosophers like you, bad things just cannot happen.
You are mistaken, master. In this country, philosophers become beggars, as I have and as you have. Are you not a pauper and a beggar? Don't deny it. And this is why I feel like laughing and crying. But I knew that it would be this way with you also. In a couple of days, they will send you to Hades. Is it not better to sip wine, Socrates, and mock the orderly manner of gods and men?
Oh, Socrates, allow me in my name and in my pious name to give you praise just like the mortals would praise only the gods.
We give you praise equal to the gods.
I'm not equal to the gods again, although from what is written on the board, one could conclude that I have with the gods a strict understanding, and a subversive understanding at that. Did you know, my dears, that I'm an enemy of the state?
Don't joke around, Socrates. The matter, unfortunately, is much more serious than you think. Not only Meletus is after you, but also that wretched tenant Anytus, and what is more, Lycon too. Apparently you made a fool of Lycon at the square, and you quarreled with Anytus many times.
Am I to blame for calling stupidity by its name? I have a terribly ungrateful occupation, but a noble one.
Is it true, Socrates, that you know of a new god, and that you do not acknowledge the gods of Olympus? Nobody recalls there ever being someone who wanted to overthrow the gods. You would be the first.
You are the first, Socrates.
I always said that imagination, not controlled by the intellect, breeds only nonsense. What is happening to me is obvious. Meletus has the right to accuse me because I have the right to accuse him.
But the death penalty awaits you, Socrates.
The death penalty awaits you, Socrates.
That is still uncertain.
You act as though you really do not know what awaits you. The whole city speaks of tomorrow when you will stand trial. Maybe I do not understand much from what is happening, Socrates. But I feel that you differ from everybody else. That you are a hero, you are equal to the gods.
You are a hero, equal to the gods, Socrates.
I'm not a hero. Look at my face, my clothing, my belly. I don't even know, my dears, whether I'm most stupid or wise. I know that I know nothing.
Do you remember what the Apollo priests at Delphi said about you?
Socrates is wise. Wiser is Euripides, but from all men, Socrates is most wise.
I'd rather you recite the Alcestis lament than the decree of the Apollo priests. At least I'll be able to take a short nap. Please, recite.
May the hill streams inspire my voice, may the rivers inspire, and may the sea inspire me. May the earth tremble, and may heaven open. Come, gods and servants of gods, behold, Admetus is dying, the friends of gods and men.
Ah, finally, I found you, Socrates.
Greetings, General.
We are reciting a fragment of my tragedy, Antiochus.
It was the beginning of Alcestis' lament.
I did not even get enough time for a nap, but I thought it was beautiful. I thank you.
As a soldier, I'm not acquainted with tragedies, but I suspect that in this tragedy, as in many others, a danger of sympathy lurks. For tears can break laws and can make heroes out of criminals. Be wary, poets, of spreading affection.
Antiochus, even a tramp on the stage can move a scoundrel's heart. Although a scoundrel he will remain. Does it not amaze you that only poetry unites people in rapture, when everything else divides them?
Because poets, Socrates, are God's chosen ones.
Please, God's chosen ones, the talk is not of you. Socrates, we must prepare your defense. I'm calling over friends to my place, your followers only.
Do you think that this will be Socrates' last feast?
I do not like the word last or the word never. If you wish to honour us with your choir, come before the closing of the town gates.
Behold Anytus, Lycon, and Meletus, the most noble citizens of Athens. One can straightway tell that the three friends are joined together by an extraordinary covenant. Surely the praiseworthy and dignified citizens are outraged that Socrates dares to show himself near King Acon with his students. Behold, O Meletus, the poets, who form godless tragedies, and thus endanger not only Olympus, but also the state. Behold, Lycon, the beggar philosopher, who spits at everything praiseworthy. Also due to my influence.
Naturally, your custom, Socrates, is to ridicule the citizens.
But in my occupation, ridicule is the main tool. Lies and stupidity hide behind the banner of virtue and tradition. Imagine a battle against a superior combination of lies. It is my humble occupation as a philosopher to pierce with ridicule the bloated bellies of lies and deception, resulting in a hiss of rotten air, and thus, as you said, Meletus, shaking the foundations of Olympus and of the state. Then,
no matter what you may think of us, it does not change the fact that your work is harmful.
We wish to talk to you seriously.
but even when I mock and laugh, I sense the seriousness of the matter I ridicule. I should be grateful to you, my noble accusers, because none more than you teach me to what extent falsehood has pervaded our country.
It seems to me it would be best if we left.
Socrates.
Maybe we really should leave. Socrates only wants to offend us.
Now, my noble citizens, forgive me if I have pricked you with the pin of irony. And if I have compared lies and stupidity to bloated bellies, I most certainly did not consider your bellies.
And now I most certainly do not know if you are mocking us. Although we are meant to be living, I will tell you what we have concluded.
How interesting! How very, very interesting. Please.
Socrates, you have fathers before you. Not fathers of the state, but of families. We have sons, Socrates. We have sons.
Yes, we have sons.
Is this my fault? I do have sons. 3 of them. How much work around them, how much care, and how much money. My kind wife Xanthippe knows all about this.
We have sons who are your students. Not only your students, but also followers and adorers.
Very nice. I know them well. Courageous and smart boys. Only if mine were like that, all day long they jump fences, climb trees, and get into all sorts of trouble. They even steal. I'm a bad father, bad husband, and a bad citizen, and, judging by your complaints, a bad philosopher.
Jokes won't help you now, Socrates.
This is despair, not jokes.
As everybody knows, I have a tannery, the biggest in Athens. The factory is developing well, because from morning till night, for many years now, I personally have been overlooking it. One has to guard and watch the hands to make sure that nobody steals, because everybody steals. They all steal.
Probably, Anytus, they steal out of poverty and hardship.
They steal someone else's wealth, riches. One day I called for my eldest son and declared, enough of these games, enough of studying and sports. It is time you started helping your father in the factory. Do you know, Socrates, what my son answered? I don't care for your factory. Well, father, cannot be the goal of life. So what is the goal of life, dearest son? I asked him, holding my belt tight behind me. Virtue, that is matters of the intellect, is the answer. I scourged him severely. But what did they do? My boy ran away and is not returning.
Strange. I would have never thought that this is how he has treated you.
It is very well known for some time now who injects these types of thoughts into the minds of youth. You treat wealth as though it were some type of disgrace. And what shall we think of that? Have you ever considered that your teachings threaten our state's greatness? There is a fairly large group of those that guide the youth away from work and from trade. They come together to form groups that look for truth, and they have you as the master.
As a poet, I feel responsible for the state of mind of our country. Things are bad, although many enlightened people, to whom I include you, Socrates, are unaware of this. Your students, Socrates, repeat the views they have heard from you, from which one could conclude that there is only one God whom you know, and whom only you acknowledge, a God that is purely a spirit, and who abides in you. What of Olympus? I myself have heard how you laughed with your students of the gods of Olympus.
I laughed because the gods had human virtues and faults ascribed to them.
However you may explain it, it still means that you are spreading non-belief in the gods accepted by the state. As a result, your act is aimed equally against the gods as against the state. My brother, who is also your student, had the courage to stick donkey ears, made from clay, to the image of Zeus.
I do not condone such behavior. I would have clipped his ears.
The worst things in your teaching, Socrates, is the distrust towards every type of idea which tradition has passed on to us. When you show yourself in the square, you ask the citizens such questions that makes them look stupid. Socrates, your teachings, though at first glance look innocent, are threatening Athens more than any other external enemy. You have got your own advocates in every layer in society, even with the mob. If your teachings continue to spread, Athens will perish. Do you understand?
Do you understand, Socrates?
Apollo!
Apollo! Do I understand? My stupidity does not reach your wisdom. Allow me to pray. O Apollo, give light to Athens and enlighten the minds of the noble citizens who accuse me. O Apollo, great is man's goodness and great is man's hatred. I thank you for the friends, and I thank you for the enemies who wish to kill me. But should I die, then spread your light out onto the dark places of man's intellect. Give Athens the greatness and power of virtue.
It is hard to tell to what extent you have spoiled.
It's blasphemy and an insult to us.
Socrates! Socrates! What are you
judge you tomorrow. How did you wrong them? Did you do something wrong to the people?
I did not cause anyone any harm, my darling Xanthippe. On the contrary, I tried to do some good. Come and sit beside me and rest. The evening is warm and pleasant. You probably did not have the time to notice it.
Great is man's goodness, and great is man's hatred. Great is the loneliness of Socrates, like the loneliness of the moon, like the loneliness of the stars. Where there is light, Apollo, hence your name, illuminated. May the arrows from your bow strike, may they kill in us that which is dirty and dark. The choir of your goddesses, may it lend us shadow and glory of laurel bushes. Oh, Apollo, Apollo.
According to my liking, friends, there is too much pricing in this paean. But for a long time now, I have noticed that the gods like incense.
The nostrils of the gods, Crixus, are delicate and not as thickly refined as yours. Being a doctor, I could explain to you that drunken humidity in the nose interferes with all subtle smells, except for the smell of wine.
But that is a god smell. Hence what lies within? Dionysius. He is the only one of the gods who is not arrogant, and who won and adore without offending oneself. I will sing, friends, a paean for the glory of Dionysius, because I am becoming filled with a great love towards that benevolent God.
Have mercy, Crixus, and hold back your love.
If a general on his knees supplicates before a philosopher beggar, O Dionysius, a beggar philosopher must succumb. Dionysius in general has no luck with generals. He is one enthusiastic pacifist.
Will you have some more wine, Crixus?
If I am not mistaken, we are meant to be advising about tomorrow's defense of our friends.
Do you not feel a tragedy that approaches?
We are making a mistake by allowing Socrates to not speak about his defense.
Mistakes, my friends, are a philosopher's privilege. Only fools do not make mistakes.
But the biggest mistake, Socrates, is to admit to the mistake. Talk about the defense, but I, in the meantime, will adore Dionysius till the last amphorae of General Antiochus.
Friends, the time for the crowning of your noble heads nears. Plato has sent a wreath for Socrates, and he asks that amongst the words of praise, his wreath may add 3 words. 3 words from a student to his master. I admire, adore, love.
That truly is the best, since it is the shortest speech that I have had. But I I do know shorter ones. For example, witch, stop. Stupid, stop. Drunkard, stop. Such words, Socrates, are said by Athenians in my order. When I die, they will not have any trouble. On my tombstone, they will write, "Dear wretch, our fellow countrymen."
The moon is full, friends, and full at the summit is our... But greater summits await us if the king of our feast and the king of philosophy will wish to address us once more. Gorgias!
Gorgias!
Socrates, whatever you may think of yourself, the truth is that you are taking away from us praise that mortals give to their favorite inhabitants of Olympus. Does your example not test my theory that one cannot pass on knowledge? Do your words, Socrates, when you yourself choose them and throw them at the hard heads of the Athenians, not have your zeal and intellect? They have unearthly qualities that enlighten your students and cause them to bow their heads before your wisdom. But when you disappear from the square, Socrates, your words drag themselves upon the rocks and become injured and distorted, because others use them in a thick manner, in a manner that their small brains are incapable of. You walk about the square and scratch with words or thoughts till the listeners start to bleed, till the words reach their hearts to enliven, awaken, and displace them from their numbness. It is possible, Socrates, that this is what your great teachings and contributions depend on, so that they will remain, enliven, awaken, multiply, and continually search, to search for truth, which is not yet there before them. That is why they love you, and why Plato has sent you this grand wreath, and even greater words of praise.
Do you not feel, friends, how Socrates' martyrdom encircles us with silent steps?
Consider, Socrates, that each thought that reaches into the future, each courageous and arrogant thought, each stubborn search causes whole armies of exaggerations and falsehood to stand on their feet. Will you win this war? Socrates, allow me to reveal to you the opinion of an old sophist about your workings at its set epilogue that will be enacted tomorrow in our court. What did you fight for your whole life? And what will you fight for tomorrow? For something, Socrates, that does not exist. But if something did exist, we are unable to recognize it. And what is recognizable at least by one man will not pass itself on to another in the form of knowledge. I am someone who opposes what you preach, Socrates. I don't trust knowledge, because knowledge is in general impossible. What do you wish to die for? You have turned away from the world to totally concentrate on the soul, on the interior of man. You differ so much from us. You are so foreign, conceited, and lonely, and in addition simple, and so poor, barefoot and ragged, that many times when one looks at you, one can come to the conclusion that here is an inhabitant of Olympus that cared to clothe himself with the pitiful figure of man, and arrived among mortals not recognized by them. Ah, Socrates, even though a precipice divides me from your thoughts, I equally with others adore you and admire you.
So, it looks, Gorgias, that I'm quite a joker. I supposedly teach something that is not there. I scratch and scratch until it bleeds. And when I scratch something up, it looks as if the something is actually nothing. A nice game for an old man. But I thank you, Gorgias. Your talk was beautiful. And your favorite words came to mind. Nothing. Near. Not. I understood that your talk was about nothing.
As the eldest after Gorgias, and as a doctor, honorable guests.
Doctor, till now I knew you as an obstetrician.
I only have a noteworthy finding in the field of obstetrics. As is known in the whole of Hellas, I stated, following Parmenides, that boys are formed in the right side of the uterus, and girls in the left. But that is not what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted, being a doctor, to speak in doctor's terms about Socrates. Honorable guests, everything in the human body, as in all of nature, is double and is made up of parts that oppose each other. That is, moisture and dryness, blood and water, warmth and coldness, bitterness and sweetness. If, dearest guest, your stomach were to hurt tomorrow, and you would hear rumbling, it means that two opposing moistures are at work. That is, bitter water and sweet water, or flowing water and stationary water. If tomorrow the cold or warmth will cause you to shiver, it means that the coldness is fighting the warmth, and the warmth with coldness. Inside, under our skin, there is a continual movement, but it is a movement of like parts. For as the great wisdom of the gods has been found to state, sweet catches sweet, bitter tends towards bitter, sour goes to sour, and warmth drives to warmth. In someone healthy, everything works well. In a sick man, though, one can hear noise throughout the whole body. The same is with sniffles, for example, during sneezing or hiccups.
See, I feel even a hiccup. Probably Eschimachus, the moisture of water, is fighting the moisture of wine. Isn't that right?
Don't interrupt. For Socrates, dear philosophers, is a doctor.
Doctor obstetrician.
If I may make a statement about myself, then yes, I am an obstetrician. I thank you, Crixos.
Socrates, dear friends, is a doctor who heals sick souls. He removes noise in man's interior and wants harmony to come about. Harmony of the kind that the gods brought about in heaven and on earth. Allow me, O Socrates, to kiss your beard as a sign of a doctor's covenant.
When two obstetricians are kissing, as the saying goes, the gods in Olympus get the sniffles. But we now know why. That is the moisture and dryness, they are fighting one another. I ask you for the moisture of wine, General, because the dryness in my throat has nothing to fight with.
Good, loyal friend. Behold Socrates. When I think that tomorrow Socrates will stand before the court, and that day may punish the innocent citizen This is not a game. What is such a world worth in which we live? What is it worth?
Socrates knows that this world is not worth much. But does this mean we should only sip wine? Or we should only, as you said, Gorgias, doubt everything? The truth about the world exists. Gorgias, you just have to search for it, and you have to have courage in looking. And if tomorrow Socrates dies, then it is because truth exists. This pitiful world could kill Socrates, but will it kill truth? Socrates, tell us.
This is a very troublesome question, Phaedrus.
And very useful. But it is because of the moisture below the nose. Youth always wants to search for something that is not there. Did it not occur to you that the whole of the world's stupidity stands on youth's fever? Not mentioning all wars. What would happen to war, General, if youth didn't like it? Only old age is truly wise, because old age is bitter and untrusting. Probably also because when one old fellow starts preaching his teaching that shake the world, the gods quickly send him to Hades.
Your defense of old age, Crixos, is comical, but I don't know if it's just. Because it's hard to agree that only old men are capable of shaking the world. Fed by the world's bitterness, we want to look for its sweetness. Is it strange, Crixos, that Socrates teaches the sweetness of wise men to live well? But he doesn't just teach. I am an example of the goodness of Socrates. Because as you know, Socrates has bought me out, a slave who was sold by the Spartans to the Athenians. Live well, boy, he said to me when I found myself among the students. You will not convince me, Gorgias, that the truth does not exist. You will not convince me that there is no good. Because the fact that evil exists proves that good exists.
Then tell me, friends, does that crazy man not confirm my opinion that the whole of the world's stupidity stands on youth fever? I ask you, dear Phaedro, place some eyes on your head so your desire to burn for the sake of goodness may pass. Goodness is a beautiful light, just like the truth, which our Phaedrus has spoken of.
Beautiful lies, Crixos. But beauty is the enemy of lies, just as oil is the enemy of water. You talked here about truth and goodness that supposedly does not exist according to Gorgias, but does in fact exist, because all longings of the mind and soul verify them. The fate of Socrates verifies them. Do you not feel the mystery that is suspended above him? And not only above him, above us. And not only above us, above the whole world. Behold the tragedy of man whom ages will not forget. He has not armor on, nor a fire-brand sword of ivory, nor does he carry a bow or a shield to protect him.
Who is this man, and what does he come with? What battle does he lead you to? Armored regiments.
Here he lonesomely treads, as if a stray wanderer, into the unknown foreign country.
Where do you lead us, Socrates? Loved by the gods, hated by men.
In your hand you carried a shining lantern to diffuse darkness, but here the fire has left it, the fire that burns you up.
But the gods will make a pillar of light, and the pillar will shine for ages, for everyone and everything.
Oh, Socrates!
We announce, noblemen, a pantomime about the love of Ariadne and Dionysius.
that this dance was rather agreeable, because I believe it ended in the matrimonial bedroom.
Our obstetrician thinks that children are born from every dance.
Tome's dance was for the glory of Socrates. Just like this whole feast in your speeches, noble friends. At the end, being the host, I too must make a speech. As you know, I was a student of Socrates and his friend. I was ready to abandon everything to follow him and do as his teachings say. Socrates was taking away my dreams and disturbing my peace. Yes, Socrates, it was not luck that brought me to you, because you meddled with my conscience too much. Many times I wanted to forget about you, but I couldn't. At war, friends, a fellow wise man, a mocker, a fellow searcher of truth, becomes the model soldier. Many times he gave examples of heroism, not knowing that what he was doing was heroic. He lightly passed before danger, just as he lightly demolishes everything that is not truth. He lives as he preaches, and he's worthy of each of his thoughts. Tomorrow, he stands before the courts, but tonight he's spending the night with us, at this feast. Is this Socrates' last feast? His last night? We are not doing anything to save him because there's supposedly still time. I am your worst student, Socrates. The worst because I became a coward. I chose that what was easy, what gives wealth and recognition. I act against your teachings and against myself. I love wealth and pleasure. I love my position in the state. I give in to hypocrisy, and I myself am becoming a hypocrite. I love the pleasures of a worthless life, feasts, drinking. I like to flatter, and I want to be flattered. I have, Socrates, a hatred toward myself, although I am your student. But I cannot stand at the square like you, barefoot and ragged. I cannot lose my position and reputation of a general. I love you and adore you, but on occasion I loathe you. Probably in those that are accusing you, you arouse the same feelings. Your irony shouts louder than soothsayers in their own tragedies. Your godliness and your virtue accuse. You stand against a world that does not want truth nor good. If you die, then this will be the reason for your death. Those that condemn you to death are not Anytus, Miletus, nor Lycon, but your worthless students, like me. Can you pardon our worthlessness? Oh, Socrates, though I called myself a bad student, I can also be counted among your best. For only I know how great and how hard your teachings are. This night, Socrates, is not a night of pleasure, but a night of fear. I'd like to deafen it with a song, wine, or a joke. But when I look at you and I see your fate, I cannot. I cannot. I cannot. May my noble and glorious friends not take this speech to heart.
Look, bitterness itself is rising up into the air. It turns out that generals have delighters heads.
Don't interrupt. It is the doubleness of his soul that is speaking within Antiochus.
Allow me, Antiochus, to stand above the emotion of your speech and to give my reply. This Socrates must have experienced a lot of disdain from people, thinks to himself Antiochus. He must have been ridiculed and scoffed at many times at the square, just like Aristophanes ridiculed and scoffed at him in the clouds. I will be their friend, shouts Socrates, and will oppose the whole world. For what is this world? A marketplace, a fairground, where the most skilled win, where the dirtier the lie, the higher the price one acquires. Now, what do you mean there is no knowledge, thinks Socrates. He will show that there is knowledge, and that passion shall be placed under the power of the intellect. Nobody believes that inside Socrates a diamond has made its home, which is the voice of God. It is this voice which guides me, and it is this voice which already in my childhood ordered me to distinguish between truth and falsehood. And later, friends, the diamond ordered me to drop the workshop, leave home, and go out into the world, among the people, so that among the dirt of the world I may preach what is clean, and what is real. Do not be afraid, Socrates, said the Spirit to me. Truth will guide you with its own light through all darkness, and virtue shall shield you from dirt and stain. Your teaching is sweet, Gorgias, because from the impossibility of understanding it, a law is born, which allows one to sleep peacefully. But Socrates does not want to sleep. He wants to scratch, as you said, Gorgias, tear, mock, and hit straight at every lie. I'm a simple man, a servant of God. Tomorrow, I will stand before the court as a criminal. But this must be done. It must be done. For everything, I thank you all. Your feast, Antiochus, was of a kind I do not remember having had for a long time. But why have you lowered your heads? Is this how our wonderful feast shall end?
Ariadne and Dionysius invite us out to the garden. Song and music await you, honorable philosophers. Ariadne requests.
Socrates, Socrates, I would like to say how Plato...
Dear sweet Antiochus, your guests await you in the garden. Please, allow me to be alone, my friend.
The statues of gods have awoken, of marble and bronze, where the dawn with the breeze from the west set sail ships for Delos, with pilgrims in a procession for Apollo. The good wind carried the people, carried the religious hymns to Delos, to Apollo. At the same time, a bad wind rang at the empty square in Athens, and overturned the stalls of the shoemakers, butchers, and bakers. A bad wind was rubbing away the footprints of Socrates' bare feet, who here stands in the court and listens to the words of the accusers. Silver shines the sea made completely out of light, agitated by the hymns of the pilgrims. But the hymns go to Delos. They do not return to Athens. There is no hymn in Athens apart from our hymn, Socrates. A bad wind blows in Athens and calls a bad hour for you, overturns the books of law, clouds the scale of fairness, but above all, it overtook with frost the hearts of the so-called judges. There is no hymn in Athens apart from our hymn, Socrates. But it is a hymn of fear and a hymn of peace.
Do you hear? I do not know if they are cheering or scorning. It is the third speaker testifying against Socrates. Everything spins in my head. I don't understand anything.
They say, Xantippe, that Socrates is a danger to our homeland and our faith. Socrates teaches the Athenians distrust towards any statements and towards anything that gave Athens its greatness. Socrates undermines the greatness of the nation. He even brings confusion into the minds of the youth. and poisons them with his lack of faith. A lot of similar things were said, but I am unable to repeat them to you because they are all lies and stupidity.
How can one lie? Last year, my neighbor accused me of stealing 3 roosters, and the court for such slander and lies sent her to prison. I am calm. Socrates will defend himself if it is lies that they speak of.
Shh, Xantippe. Now once again Meritus speaks and demands.
What does he demand?
Punish the traitor, like you would a true criminal. For it is best if one man dies a bodily death immediately, than if 1,000 youth were to die a spiritual one. Youth already today, says this scoundrel, do not respect the state, nor ancestral customs, no traditions, no blood, nor gods. Our homeland is moving towards a precipice.
Do you hear what resentment towards Socrates? How they howl. The enemy has formed this intrigue well. They played on the note of the homeland.
Pallas Athena looks down from above and judges the court. It has gone quiet in the court, as silent as in a temple. Evil lurks like a dog in the shadows and waits. Wait the so-called judges, wait the gods, wait the future ages to take away the word of Socrates, worthy, simple, courageous. Time to speak, Socrates, time to speak.
I fear Socrates' upcoming speech, because you never know what he will say. He speaks differently to the others. It always puzzled me when I many times listened to his conversations with friends. It is not good that I listen to Socrates and I am not there in the hall. I would have told them straight out what I think, and if the need would have a reason, I could have even started lamenting and crying and begging for his acquittal. For Socrates rendered great service to Athens. Did he not go to war many times? Laughter often filled me when he would put on hoplite armor. Everything was too tight for him and too small. He looked dreadful. But he fought well, and they should remember this.
Short is men's memories, Xantippe.
You've gone pale, Crito. Speak. Only our own are present here. No outsider will hear.
Something along the lines of a conspiracy exists against Socrates. Things don't look well, Antiochus. Alcademos from the Council of 11 told me that Meritus has been purposely placed as an accuser. They even say that there are some who bribe him to do it.
But who bribed him, or what conspiracy?
All this is a mystery. The Democrats do not trust Socrates because of some of his students being of aristocratic lineage, due to someone like Plato, for example. However, also due to you. They suspect him of siding with the Spartans and of belonging to a conspiracy against Athens. So you see, there has never been such an understanding between enemies like there is today when Socrates' trial is to take place.
Did I not speak the truth, Crito, when I said that Socrates is standing against the battles of the world? Great enemies are joining in a conspiracy to kill one pauper. Oh, Apollo, what a country, what a country.
I've known for a while now that politicians look at Socrates with disdain. They look at his every fault and try to ascertain whom it may profit. The Spartans, Thebans, Persians, Athenians, think Antiochus.
Poor men taught that knowledge is good and ignorance is bad. That is enough to kill him. Will it not be possible, Crito, to still pay off the judges?
I will not undertake such a task, Antiochus. Socrates would not like such a favor. I have one of his thoughts in my heart that I have fallen in love with. Evil cannot be conquered with evil.
Evil cannot be conquered with evil. Yes, I remember. It's beautiful. But over there a man is dying. Does he have to die? If he dies, does it not mean that good was defeated by evil?
But Antiochus, in the teachings of the wise men, these two triumphs look different. There also exists a triumph through death. In every tragedy, triumphant is the one who dies, because a true triumph is measured differently. It is measured by its effects that are not short-lasting.
That, of course, is how it is in poetry, but not in life. Here behind the wall, the fate of Socrates is being weighed. Do you want him to die?
Do you hear? The noise from the court hall reaches him in here.
Is Socrates defending himself well?
I'm not sure how to say this. What he says is wonderful, but he's arousing resentment among the judges. Everybody, it seems, is against him, even from the beginning, from the very first uttered sentences. Because that's what Socrates is saying. It's not a defense, it is a teaching. Do you remember the oracle of the Delphi priests? That is what he started with. And later he recalled how he walked around Athens and looked for men truly wise, because he didn't believe the prophecy. He wanted to find, he says, a wise man to surpass him, so in that way he could prove the falsehood of the prophecy. Oh dear friends, I can still feel the sharp silence of the hall. I can still feel the hateful glances of the judges when they looked at Socrates, who was ridiculing them. I wanted to shout, Socrates, have pity on yourself. Don't speak that way, or the hatred of the judges will murder you. He ridiculed them the whole time. Most of all, I recall, I looked for wise men among the politicians.
He's bringing death upon himself.
But can he speak any other way?
But why does he talk about that? Does he not know how angry the judges are at him?
In this way, Socrates will lose his case. What to do? How to restrain him?
That scoundrel Melitus, who accuses Socrates of atheism, is himself an atheist. I once saw in Hera's temple how he pinched a girl, the daughter of my neighbor. I also saw how he mocked the priest chants, mimicking the sound of a calf being slaughtered. But what will be of Socrates? Tell me, what will happen?
I'll sprinkle some gold amongst the judges. That is the best defense.
Just think for a second, Antiochus. Think about what Socrates will say.
Protect Socrates, blue-eyed Athenians, and don't withhold graces from him. Shoot him with a spear from fist that is squeezed in fury among the jury. It is not Socrates who speaks, Athenians. It is not the ragged pauper speaking. It is Hellas who speaks, victorious.
At one stage, when Socrates was speaking about wisdom, there was silence among the judges. So big a silence is that they thought that something extraordinary was happening. But what does that barefoot, ragged man mean to history?
Oh, Phaedo! History is not only armed defeats or glorious battles out at sea or on land. So what? That the square at which Socrates' thought will be deserted, if he dies. But will his thoughts die, the thoughts that already live in the whole of Hellas?
Are those in the whole who judge Socrates able to kill that much of which you speak?
Socrates will not die. Even if they were to kill him, he will not die, Phaedo.
Socrates is probably thirsty if he's been talking that long. I didn't bring anything to drink to moisten his lips.
I'm an obstetrician, said Socrates. I'm an obstetrician of men, not of women.
What absurdity! Did he really say that? That's a disgrace!
Socrates gives birth to thoughts. Do you understand, Xantippe? Socrates gives birth to thoughts, but not on his own. Others give birth to them, and he helps. He asks, as you know, questions, inquires. Sometimes he pretends to be not as proficient in wisdom. And in that way, he squeezes it out of the one to whom he is speaking. He pressures them with questions so much that he is like an obstetrician who slowly and patiently takes out a child from the belly of a mother. So think about it. Was I not right to say that Socrates is a doctor of souls?
We must admire the skillfulness of his tongue, particularly because he can speak on an empty stomach.
What do you mean, on an empty stomach? Socrates ate breakfast. I myself prepared it for him.
On an empty stomach means sober, Xantippe. I would never be able to do that. Do you have any wine?
It seems that medicine has been elevated much in the speech of Socrates. Let us hope that he does not catch a cold, for there are draughts in that hall. I must also tell you that Socrates gave an enlightening lesson in obstetrics, using Melitus. It was obstetrics that even Lachmos would be proud of. How is it, Melitus? And what, Melitus? Tell me, dearest, and how inventive you are. He pressured him so much, he squeezed so much, that Melitus, I tell
That Melitus gave birth before I saw the hall!
I wanted to say that Melitus gave birth to stupidity. Yes, that was a beautiful procedure done by an obstetrician.
So, Socrates,
Meletus,
you tell us that you are a patriot and that you would die for Athens. Is that correct?
Athens is my country, and in case you have forgotten, Meletus, it is also your country.
No. Why should I forget? In fact, it is because of Athens that we stand here today, Socrates. You and I both claim to be patriots. However, there is a small difference between us. I have the security of the state in mind. I look at you, and I see you as a threat to it.
I also look at you, Meletus, and I see that you charge me with atheism, with introducing new gods and hence corrupting the youth. Very clever. But I fail to understand how this threatens the greatness of Athens with all her generals, all her highly esteemed judges, all her politicians. But enough of this. Let us address my accusations. We will start with me corrupting the youth of Athens. But tell me, who improves the youth?
Very well. The judges, for example.
Then judges, parents, officials.
Yes.
Then also teachers, merchants, shopkeepers, butchers, tent makers, shoemakers.
Yes, what's the point?
In fact, all of Athens.
Oh, yes, all of Athens.
Except Socrates, of course, who corrupts the youth.
Well, yes.
One man! My congratulations, Meletus, as to the good fortune of Athens. May I also point out that it is better to live among good people rather than among bad people? Therefore, one could not be foolish enough to corrupt people intentionally. But if one does this unintentionally, then one should be instructed, not prosecuted. Passing now to the indictment. It seems that I am a complete atheist. Yet, at the same time, I deny the old gods and introduce new gods. Tell me, dearest, is this not a contradiction?
Socrates, as we all know, your students think highly of you. Your influence upon them is famous. Today you put seemingly innocent ideas into their heads, and tomorrow those ideas flourish into exactly what?
I do not know, Meletus. What?
It is not 5 years since the war, and we have yet to consolidate some kind of homeland stability.
And what, Meletus? You believe that I'm plotting a coup with a handful of young men?
Stop playing games. I will not be the subject of your incessant questioning or philosophical tricks. Are you an Athenian or a Spartan?
Here it is.
Answer the question. It is simple enough.
Very well then. I'm an Athenian and proud of it.
Then why did you veto the executions?
Remember the amnesty, Meletus? Also, because I believe that anyone, no matter how guilty, should be tried by the courts, by existing laws, not by the whims of a howling mob. Athens is a law-abiding, free city, as long as...
What, Socrates? As long as you are willing to philosophize, as condemn our industry, our gods, our way of life, to set spoil upon our youth, to introduce them to this new god, this spirit of yours, in short, to threaten our security.
Before having been interrupted by you, I was about to say, as long as we will be one people.
One people? But of course, Athens has always been one. We will always be one. The only thing holding this great nation back right now is you, Socrates.
Tell me, dearest, is this not the reason we are all here today? Our homeland? To not only question, but also to discuss and fuel the debate as to where Athens is now and where she shall go? How is it, my accusers, that we have all forgotten our destiny of enlightenment? When war has ceased, is there no time for reflection and a want for a more stable, yes, more stable state, but in a more transparent way? Not only you, dear judges, but do we all not yearn for eternal goodness through our voice, the voice of our God, or gods? This is the voice of our homeland.
And here we have it. A man who encourages us to question at a time when trade and commerce are on their knees. Sparta still preys on our necks like a hungry dog. He talks of destiny and enlightenment when we need stability and reason, reflection and transparency when we need grist to the mill, greatness when the 30 still hover in our midst like vultures ready for the take. My fellow countrymen, today we are deciding not just on the fate of Socrates, but on the fate of our homeland. Please cast the balls into the box.
Now Themis will show us a will. Voting is underway. The battle for Socrates has just begun. Apollo help! Athena help!
Do you hear the sound of the black balls falling into the box? Oh, Socrates, you fought like a hoplite, near Putidea, near Amphipolis, near Delium. You stood before death, stared him in the face, with no fear as life today, when you stand against Athenians. With what shield will the gods cover you? What spear will they place in your hands? A battle grows in the hall, Socrates, in which will fall not you, but the city. Black balls hit the white flag of Apollo, in the caring arms of Pallas Athena, in the golden glory of Athens. At your bare feet fell the city, killed by falsehood. Oh, Socrates, just one more of your last words, last before the day becomes night, before the wind erases forever your footprints in the square. Oh, Socrates.
Socrates, the sentence by the majority of the votes given is death. However, in view of your age and standing, the jury is willing to commute the sentence to one of a substantial penalty. How much do you propose?
30 minae.
This is ridiculous. Very well, then. You yourself have forced the jury's hand. You yourself have chosen your own sentence.
The sentence given is death.
The death penalty?
What are you saying? Socrates is innocent. Did he wrong Athens? Tell me, why did they sentence him? Why?
Antiochus's gold did not help, nor even any of Crito's reasonings. Oh, friends, Socrates himself chose death.
Himself, you say?
He stood alone in the middle of a large semicircle, leaning against a pillar. And it seems that he often spoke not to the judges, not to the crowd of butchers and traders, nor even to the empty heads of politicians, but to those who will remain after he goes. Once, he even spoke out like a poet. I say that a heavier punishment will come upon you for that you are destroying the idea of conscience. And later, friends, at the very end, he ordered for his sons to be punished. If they would never become brave men, if they would care more for money or anything other than bravery. Before our eyes dies courage and a stalwart. Truth has been killed, friends. Truth has been killed!
But Phaedros, but friends, I do not know if truth in that hall did not acquire an even greater brightness. Nothing dies, said wise men of old, and poets teach that dying is not a total death. The body dies. Let us lift up our heads, friends, because nothing dies that is of the Spirit. Thought does not die, since it is the fruit of the Spirit. That great advantage and pride and that joy, which is God's birthmark, is carried within every man, friends. So what that they scream, so what that they shout, so what that fury rages between the benches.
Everything's lost. Everything's finished.
Politicians of every different agenda form one front of action. Can one go against such a power, Antiochus?
Not everything is your loss, friends. Do you not know that today the Delos ship sails for the feast of Apollo? Until that ship, once again, does not return to Athens, until the pilgrims will not return, the sentence on Socrates will not be able to be carried out. That is what the law states. There's still time, Crito. There will be time to persuade Socrates to flee. Apollo will save Socrates. Believe me, Apollo will save him.
Behold, Socrates! Behold, Socrates approaches! Socrates! My Socrates! I have brought you some beans, onion and figs. You have exerted yourself greatly. Sit down and eat. Oh, wait. I will wipe the sweat from your brow. Eat, Socrates. You always said, never do beans taste as good as when they are made by you, Xantippe. Eat. Eat.
At your bare feet the city fell, killed by falsehood, Socrates.
are the last pilgrims. When they take down the wreath from the ship's mast, it will indicate your death, Socrates. Fate approaches to give you the chalice of hemlock and to guide you to the depth of mystery. Still, the moment is before us, till they take down the laurel wreath from the ship's mast, and till the pilgrim's hymn cease.
Oh, Socrates, Socrates. The pilgrims that sailed to Delos have all passed by. Your last hour has arrived, Socrates. Do you want to listen to your friends and flee? There is still time. You cannot die so miserably.
Don't cry, Xanthippe. I told you so many times that I cannot flee. It seems that the sunset is at hand. When the moon rises...
You always acted differently to others, and that is how you were all your life. You see, it seems as though he wants this death. Socrates, think of your children whom you will leave, and think of me. I am old and do not have many years left. How will I cope without you? Many times I despised your teachings at the square, your wisdom. I cried that this will all end badly. Oh, Socrates, I am stupid and a lot of anger fills me. But now, in your last hour, I cannot distance myself from you. I don't know if you have to die, if this is the way it must be. But I know that I don't want to lose you, Socrates. My Socrates.
Tell the boys that their father wants them to grow up to be brave Athenians. They must not embarrass anyone because they are the sons of Socrates. That is all. And now, Xanthippe, oh, your hair was always so long and soft. I liked your hair. In your youth, it nearly reached your feet.
I don't remember my youth, because already from childhood I had to work. But I remember when you touched my hair in the olive field on the road to Eleusis. You kissed me for the first time, and I agreed to be your wife. Would I have known then that I will recall that moment in prison, in your last hour before death? Oh, Socrates, the gods have forsaken you if they allow for your death. Your wisdom that brought you to this prison but betrayed you. You ignored me and your children. You abandoned your home and you walked around like a beggar. All for this end? Why, Socrates? Why?
Here come the friends, Xanthippe.
Friends. Maybe they will be able to persuade you. I will come once more. I will be waiting outside the wall until your friends leave. There your sons stand and cry. I will go to them.
Xanthippe, you are good and brave. Bring the boys up well. come back after sunset.
I will be waiting outside the wall. The boys, though good for nothing, have good hearts. They cry and cry and cry.
It is good that you have come. I have already taken a bath and said my prayers. Did you see the return of the pilgrimage from Delos?
Who have come to ask you to agree to an escape? Everything is ready. Antiochus wait with his men outside the city walls.
You yourself agree that the sentence is unfair.
Towards the end of your speech, Socrates, you were telling the judges that the sentence is not a sentence but a betrayal. I have before my eyes that moment when you stood alone during your defense, leaning against the column. And it seems to me like you were the column, Socrates. Like a column, you will carry the whole glory of Athens. Do you wish to bury her with you by accepting the judge's sentence?
Antiochus awaits Socrates. There is not much time.
It is true, there is not much time. Already the sunset nears.
So you see?
Dress quickly!
Allow me, friends. If I were to agree and in secret flee from the prison and the city, according to you, that would be fine. And then, where would I go? To Thebes? To Sparta? And what do you think, friends, would they say of me in those new places? Would they not say, there goes Socrates, there goes the one who fled from his own homeland and from the harshness of the law? They would also say, there is Socrates who was condemned to death because he demoralized the youth with his teachings and has now fled to us to do the same.
But Socrates...
Do you think I did not consider fleeing even before Crito suggested it? But then, friends, I heard the voices of the laws of our homeland. They said, do you want to ignore us, Socrates, and to betray us because we supposedly hurt you? But did we not give greatness to your homeland? And are we not an example for other countries to follow? Think about us, about the laws from which blossomed what is most famous throughout the whole of Hellas: philosophy, music, theater, poetry, athletics. Think about our traditions made holy by us laws, and about our citizen life. We brought you up, son of Sophroniscus. We were to you like mother and father. Would you cut off the hand of your father who chastised you? Would you not rather bend down and kiss that hand? You who are a wise man, and who teaches others what fairness and courage are, would you rebel against us and flee from us like a coward and disrespect our sentence? Oh, Socrates, said the laws, worth more than everything else, more than mother and father, more than fame, more than the love of friends, is the homeland. Do you want no one to honor us? What was I to answer, friends? I could only, in embarrassment, lower my head, like you now, and acknowledge the laws of our homeland to be holy laws.
Did you not see in your 30 nights visions and dreams, Socrates? How into future eras walks Hellas? How into future eras walks Hellas? It is the name of your homeland, beyond many lands, beyond many seas. A column. In it, the beauty of Hellas and the greatness of her thoughts, like in your visions and in dreams.
Greetings, Crixos. Greetings, friend.
Is it true what they say? And what the caretaker says? He stirs something bitter in his pot, something supposedly for you. There were two of us, Socrates, two of us. I am, as you see, still on an empty stomach, though sunset approaches. So, Socrates, I will go. But I cannot stand silent. I cannot stand silence. Will you not sing? Then I will leave. I dreamed of a sky blue river down which you sailed. Funny, a sky blue river. A sky blue river.
Can you see that it is hard for us to accept that you will no longer be with us?
Don't you fear death, Socrates?
Death is always a tragedy.
Friends, I understand your questions, and I understand your concern for me. But a philosopher's life, like mine, is continuous dying. Because what does philosophy mean? It means, friends, observing with the intellect the things that are final. I thought through, lying here for days and not sleeping by night, what I leave behind and where I go. No, friends, I do not fear death.
Socrates, please, console us if you can.
I see that there is still regret in you that I am dying, and a disbelief that I live with joy for the other shore. But is the thought not pleasant that I will meet there Orpheus, Museus, Hesiod, Homer, and many, many other famous men? Just think, friends, of the swans, for example, the favorite birds of Apollo. Swans before death sing, and they sing most beautifully, with joy, because they are leaving to be with the God whom they serve. Just think carefully, friends, for there I shall surely live on.
What do you mean, Socrates?
Remember, Phaedrus, our walk along the Ilys. Did we not talk about what lasts and about what passes? The lasting part of man is his immortal soul. If the soul lasts and does not die because only the body dies, then one should take care of that soul, which in each one of us calls for perfection. Oh, friends, if everything were to end in death, this would go against the intellect and the dignity of free man. Only dark and evil men would have paradise, because their evil deeds would die with them. But this is not how things are. Each soul's deeds accompany it to the other side. Everything the soul lived off on this earth follows it. Once there, judgment will occur. And my judgment, friends, will also occur, albeit different from the one 30 days ago.
You will be free from all wrongdoing, Socrates.
You'll find yourself among the gods.
In the arms of Apollo.
I do not know by which river I will go to Hades once I step into the boat of Charon. Maybe there is a river solely for philosophers to sail down. Oh, Apollo, is there a river of purification for me? A river of sorrows, of sadness, of flames, or a river of complaints and tears?
You will not go down the evil rivers.
You will not go down either of those rivers, Socrates. You will sail like mist, like a cloud, above the columns of Acropolis. It is time, Socrates, with silent steps in silence, approaches a mystery. It lifts us up away from you, a river of sorrow. Not consoled, we say, farewell, farewell, Socrates.
Farewell, friends.
It is time, Socrates. Are you ready? The sun hastily runs towards the hills and soon will hide behind Acropolis.
Yes, I'm ready. Bring what you must.
Nobody dies in such a manner like you. I've looked at many deaths here. May Zeus help you to bear it easily.
A good man, good and wise. I talked with him a lot here. Don't cry, friends. I did not dismiss Xanthippe to look now at your tears. Farewell me rather with smiles, like a bridegroom who goes to his wedding feast.
Do you, Socrates, have any orders for me, for us? Do you?
It is nothing new. Take care of yourselves, of your souls, friends. And remember Xanthippe and my boys. Also, give my regards to Plato, who is ill. Give my regards to all friends.
Drink slowly, Socrates, and then lay down.
Farewell, friends. O good Apollo, let not my death stand the glory of Athens. Give greatness to Athens, Apollo. Oh, Crito, we still owe Asclepios a rooster. Do not forget to return it to him.